You're muted. Yeah.
Dear participants, on behalf of the City Library Goran Kovačić, Karlovac, I kindly greet you and welcome you to a virtual meeting with our colleagues, librarians from Kansas Public Libraries, Kansas City, Kansas. At today's meeting, the library director and its staff will present the work and activities of their library with an emphasis on working during the coronavirus epidemic, especially how library service and programs are customized. One of the topics will also be working with groups of disadvantaged people and the introduction of Kansas City, Kansas Public Library Foundation. Colleague Marijana Tomičić and I will moderate today's meeting. First of all, I would like to thank the director of Kansas Public Libraries, Kansas City, Kansas, without whose kindness and goodwill we would not be able to organize this meeting today. I would also like to greet the mayor of Kansas City and representative of City of Karlovac, the representatives of U.S. Embassy in Croatia, and the consuls of the Republic of Slovenia and Croatia in the USA. Kansas City, Kansas and City of Karlovac are twin cities. Official cooperation between our two cities was established in 1977 and is related to Karlovac emigration. For that reason, I'm honored to announce the mayor of Kansas City, Mr. David Alvey.
Mayor, are you on? Okay, we're going to ask our past mayor, Carol Marinovich, just to greet and welcome you guys. You muted, Mayor. Yeah.
When Carol invited me to participate, I was really excited because the sister city of Karlovac means so much to me. My mother's family came from Supsiver, which is very close to Karlovac, and my grandfather's family came from Velika Paca, another small village near Karlovac, and I still have cousins in that vicinity. So an opportunity for the two cities to work together. And when it comes to the library and being a former educator and the idea of reading and reading opportunities for everyone is just so important. So I'd like to thank you, Carol, for helping to arrange this and welcome you and hoping this would just be the beginning of many conversations to come.
Thank you, Mayor. Appreciate that.
Thank you very much. We are glad that you support our cooperation and our future joint activities. And now I would like to announce the head of Department for City Development, Marijana Tomičić. Unfortunately, Mayor Mandić will not be with us today. Marijana.
Thank you very much. Do we hear us?
Yes.
Greetings to all of you participants from beautiful city of Karlovac from Croatia. I would like that you send greetings also to dear Mayor of Kansas City, Kansas, Mr. David Alvey, from our Mayor, Mr. Mandić. Because of his urgent commitments today, he couldn't be with us, but he told me that I tell all of you that he apologized, and I will greet you in his name. Dear Director of Kansas Public Libraries, Mrs. Carol Levers, good day. And Mrs. Marinovich, greetings from your old town, Karlovac. And dear librarians from all Kansas and Croatia, I see that many of you are here today with us. So, City of Karlovac, as you know, has a long line of friendship with many cities worldwide. But one line, this line with Kansas City, Kansas, is the longest one from 1977. So this is a relation that built our Karlovac emigration, and they thank them. I thank them on the behalf of our mayor very much. And as you know, we started first with sports events, with our two public administration cooperation, and today, as we all see, with librarians. I think that's actually great, because libraries are in many ways drivers of our social life not only social, then educational, cultural, and informational institution for all of us citizens. So I think that it's great for you today to exchange this knowledge and experience in every process in society and also in our democracy processes. I have this honor, and I'm glad personally also to be in the opportunity in the name and on behalf of our mayor, Mr. Mandić, together with your mayor and all of you here, to give you a big support in your cooperation between your libraries, and to tell you that we hope that this also cooperation will contribute in our future more intensive cooperation between administration in economic way, in every way that you wish that cooperation rise. So I'm glad today that we have representatives of USA Embassy in Zagreb, because they are really in every way, in every event, a big support for us, for Karlovac city. And for the end of this call here in Zoom meeting, I wish you all good luck and many success in your together work, joint work, and many regards from all of us from Karlovac. I would like that we have between two mayors future Zoom conference, so that they two can also together talk about ways of cooperation. And I invite you all to come to Karlovac as soon as possible, and that we will host you and have you as our ghosts here, but also as you know, as our Karlovac friends. And I hope we will see us soon in personally.
Thank you. Can I just say that our mayor has, I've seen our mayor, Mr. Morozov, if you, Mr. Mayor David Elby is here, if you would like him to just some greetings.
Mr. Elby, can you speak a few words?
Thanks.
Yes, thank you. I appreciate this opportunity. You know, I look at the names on the Zoom call, and so many of them are the same names of so many people we know here in Kansas City, Kansas. And it's just, it's a wonderful experience to see that connection between our two cities and really our two countries. I have not been to Croatia. My wife has. She was able to visit Medjugorje, and she just has wonderful things to say about Croatia, and I very much want to visit someday. When I can save up enough money, I hope I will be able to do that. And if we can get past this darn pandemic, you know, people will feel more comfortable and safe to go out. I think it's wonderful, really, that the libraries are coming together on this. You know, too often what we hear is, you know, there's so much debate, political debate, that is not happening because, frankly, people are afraid, at least in our nation, in fact, to have really honest discussions about the important matters, you know, and the libraries as not just a repository of knowledge, but really as promoters of knowledge, you know, that to help the dialogue happen and occur in ways that are respectful and productive, so that all of us can really come down to the truth. And we found in our pandemic in our nation that there is so much obfuscation, there is so much misinformation that is put out there about the virus, and a reluctance really just to focus on the virus as a virus, and to really trust our scientists and our doctors to really recommend to us the best measures for us to stop this pandemic. So I think this is awesome that the members, the libraries are coming together. And we too invite you to come to Kansas City, Kansas, and to meet some of your relatives here. And I have to say that one of the most exhilarating events I've been able to attend in my term as mayor was when Croatia in 2018 was making a run for the World Cup championship, and it was exciting at our local Croatian parish. We had over 2,000 people gathered together in watching big screen televisions to watch and cheer on Croatia in the World Cup. So if the United States is not going to win it, I want Croatia to win it. I don't want France to win it again. So I encourage you and thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you.
Can I just add something, because my colleague here, Maya, also mentioned me. So, Mr. Olvi, I invite you in the name of Mayor, Mr. Mayor, to come to Karlovac on our cost. And please, if we can plan and invite you in some Zoom conference with our mayor.
Thank you. Now I just got to find the time, and I will be.
Yes, please. Thank you
so much. That's very generous of you. And I'd love to meet the mayor on a Zoom call.
Thank you. Then it's planned. Thank you.
All right.
Mr. Mayor, we are honored that you are here with us, and thank you very much. We are glad that you support our cooperation and our future joint activities, and also that you support our football team. Thank you.
Well, and you can support our football team with American football, the Kansas City Chiefs, who are fumbling the ball a lot. But also we have a very good success. We have two soccer franchises, Sporting KC and the National Women's Professional Soccer, which just started this year in Kansas City. So we're very proud of both of those.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Now I'm inviting Liz Crane, Public Diplomacy Officer from the U.S. Embassy Zagreb, to greet the audience. And at the same time, I would like to take this opportunity to thank the staff of the embassy who have been helping us for so many years, and especially to Mrs. Marija Cvetnić-Kopljar, on whose initiative this cooperation took place.
Well, thank you very much, and hello to everyone from Zagreb. I'm so pleased to join this event today, and really happy to see these sister city connections being fostered, and especially through libraries, which are such important hubs in communities. It's an honor to see David Alvey, excuse me, the mayor of Kansas City on the line. I've had many wonderful visits to Kansas City over the years. I'm a Colorado native myself, so not too far away, and it's a wonderful city that you have. And greetings also to all the other officials, library directors, and everyone else on the call today. So I've been in Zagreb for almost 2 years now, and I have obviously been here for primarily during the COVID pandemic. So our opportunities to do in-person events and really leverage the powers of the libraries in Croatia has been a bit limited. But that said, I've been really impressed with some of the virtual programs that libraries have established. And again, as Miroslav said, Marija has been really fantastic in reaching beyond just our traditional American Corner network. We have 5 spaces in Croatia that are officially designated as American Corners, but we also have many unofficial partners, including the library in Karlovac. So I'm really pleased that you all are reaching out and establishing these ties. I think the Sister City program is incredibly powerful. And I'm from Boulder, Colorado, and I remember learning that one of our sister cities was Dushanbe, Tajikistan, and there's a beautiful tea house in the center of Boulder that's dedicated to that relationship. And actually all the parts were flown in from Tajikistan one by one, and they constructed this gorgeous meeting place. And it's really just a symbol of the cultural relations and connections that can be fostered between people. So as I said, I think libraries are absolutely essential to communities, and whether that's in person or with virtual resources, now more than ever, having access to accurate information is so vital with the rise of disinformation and just kind of the constant churn of news and not knowing what to believe, I think librarians have a very powerful role in society to help provide context and steer people toward good resources. Regarding our particular cooperation with the Karlovac City Library, I know that we've opened a business corner in the library with an aim of helping local communities with their business-related needs if they're looking to start a business or research opportunities, or even just to understand what other businesses may exist in their area of interest. We've also met a lot of high school professors and students who've invited us to come speak at their universities or schools. We have a very robust Education USA program in Croatia, whereby Croatian students can learn about scholarship opportunities to spend some time studying in the United States, whether it's a short-term exchange or a full 4-year undergraduate program. And I think libraries are really vital resources to help students, learn about what opportunities might exist. And of course, the embassy is always here to answer questions. We also try to provide American books to the libraries that we work with, and just make sure that we can help keep the collection fresh and ensure, a robust understanding of the world around us. Again, knowing that not all books can be held in our hands anymore. And with that in mind, I think we brought the first e-reader, a Kindle, to the Karlovac City Library. So we certainly support promoting new technological trends and developments, and really supporting this innovation that can exist, particularly in a time that we live in now, where innovation is absolutely key. So I'd like to close again by thanking the City Library in Karlovac for their initiative in this program, and to all of our partners, and also to our colleagues in the city. It's really fun to get to see you all. Unfortunately, I won't be able to stay for the full event today. I will have to drop off in about 45 minutes. But if there are any pressing questions for the U.S. Embassy, then please feel free to send me a message in the chat, and I'll make sure that I get you a response. So thank you again, and I wish you a wonderful rest of the session.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Crane, for your support and help. And as you said, you will be with us until 5:15 p.m. So if you have any questions for Mrs. Crane, you can ask her directly in the chat or in the email address of our library colleague. Vedrana will write our email, and we will forward you questions to her. I would now like to release the speech of our director, Jasmina Milovčić, who also unfortunately is not able to attend today's meeting, but greets you all.
Dear participants, I'm glad that we have gathered at today's meeting, which is extremely important for connecting our two cities and our libraries. A special greet, in the first place, the mayor of the Kansas City, Mr. David Elway, and the director of the Kansas City Public Library, Mrs. Carol Levers, with his team of employees. I also greet the representatives of the United States Embassy in Zagreb, and I want to thank for its support in our work and express my desire for even better and strong future cooperation. For the end, I greet all other participants who joined our meeting today. We will be presenting our cities and libraries to each other in the future period, so allow me now to briefly present you the vision and core values of our library. The City Library Ivan Goran Kovačić is the old culture institution in Karlovac. The vision of our libraries is to become a community-oriented library by making it available to library research and supporting the lifelong learning. Our values are sustainability, free access to information, cooperation, transparency, creativity, innovation, and inclusion. Thank you all for your attention, and we look forward to our future partnership.
Finally, let me welcome the director of Kansas Public Libraries, Kansas City, Kansas, Mrs. Carol Levers. Mrs. Levers.
Thank you so much, and good morning, Croatia. Good morning, everyone. Well, good morning from outside, and I would say good evening to all of you. I keep on forgetting that. I want to also personally say thank you to your mayor, for connecting us and at least reaching out and seeing whether we could, collaborate, and also connecting myself and Miroslav Katic. And we've been working for a couple of months now on this, and I feel confident that we'll be, I hope we'll be of service to you guys, as well as, in turn, we could at least depend on you to answer whatever we need. So I am really excited. Talking about iPads and stuff, the library is an independent entity with a school board. We are very unique that we are governed by a school board, and we have over 22,000 kids. And with the pandemic, we had each kid have an iPad because we knew that we would have to make sure that they have access to the collection. So, when you said that you brought some Kindles, we have iPads and laptops, because we knew that there's we have to think outside the box now and make sure that our kids are connected. So that was just a two tidbit that I wanted to share with you. I obviously is Carol Levers, Director of Libraries. I oversee 5 public libraries, 3 mobile libraries, or you would say bookmobiles, and we have quite a few little free libraries in and scattered around our area. I'm going to just introduce you and let you just an overall show you what the library is all about. But I have with me Laura Lovelace, and I would like her to wave. She's our branch manager at the main library, and she will take you through what we've been doing through the pandemic. Mr. Miroslav, Kathy, you have shared with me a couple of questions that you would like answered. We have kind of weaved those questions in, the answers will be in the slide. But if there's any questions still unanswered, please do not hesitate. Let us know, and we'll be definitely doing that. So Laura, could you start there?
Carol, do you want to share your screen?
Can you do it, because you're going to be the one to use most of the
So as Carol,
sorry, I mean you,
yeah.
But because I didn't want to switch. So as I said, we are, go back. We are one more back. That's right. This is the United States, and we are smack in the middle. As you can see, Kansas is in the middle of the, well, I shouldn't say nowhere, but in the middle of our country. And we have Missouri to our right. And there's a Kansas City, Kansas in Kansas, and a Kansas City, Missouri in the state of Missouri. This is the whole state of Kansas. And you can see to the far right, that little right here, can you see me pointing? That is Kansas City, Kansas. And these are, this is the state of Kansas, but we have what we call counties. And I think you would, you have another word for counties, and I'm not so sure what that is. But nevertheless, we have 105 of this in Kansas, and we are the very smallest on the east side of the state. Next one. So about Kansas City, Kansas Public Library, and we all say, and you just use the KCKPL. Our vision is leading the way in reading, information, and culture. We have a mission connecting members of our dynamic community with information, tools, resources, and welcoming spaces to enrich their lives. We have 5 values, and I will break those values out to you as well. First is excellence in public service, intellectual freedom and patron privacy, community partnership, embracing diversity, valuing and empowering employees. So about those 5 values, excellence in public services, we are striving to be a 1 million circulation library. We created a master plan to facilities plan. We also have a strategic plan that's running out, and it will run out the end of June of 2022. And we in the process of working on a new strategic plan to be implemented the year July 2022. And we will have something for pandemics, because we were kind of caught off guard when the pandemic hit and we didn't have anything in place, but we will be adding that in our new strategic plan. We increase access to technology to support the patron experience in our library. We increase services to people who can't come to the library, thus the mobile libraries. And we do deliveries as well. Community partnership, we develop community partnership in defined areas, especially for immigrants and those that can help our people coming to look for information at the libraries. And we can refer them to those partnerships. Embracing diversity, demographic of our county are reflected in allocations of resources. We have a diverse department of selectors, because we want different perspectives in the library. We can't just have one-sided. We have to have all a diverse perspective. On our staff, we have a Russian staff member. We have one from the Czech Republic. We have a Bolivian. We have quite a few from Mexico. We have another person from Ghana. And of course, I myself was originally from South Africa. So you can see the diverse staff we have in our libraries. Intellectual freedom and patron privacy. We increase access to library resources for more groups. Valuing and empowering employees. We increase technical support for day-to-day service providers. We also have 100% of staff that participate in job-specific training annually. So our libraries was established in 1893, and it consists, as I said, the 5 branch locations. We have 3 mobiles, and of course, you can call them bookmobiles as well. And then we have an e-community library. And this is long before the pandemic started, we created that. Then we have little free libraries and a text to checkout locations. The text to checkout locations are hospitals, clinics, daycares, where we have a kiosk of books that people can just text a certain number and you can check your own book out. If the book get lost, it's okay, because it's weeded material, but they can bring it back and exchange it for something else and just text it back in and do it themselves. The population that we serve in Kansas City, Kansas is 169 plus people. We house about 526,768 physical materials for the public, and we have 101,633 patrons who have library cards. Currently, the library has over 1 million digital items available through e-community. And these are our libraries. The top from left to right is the main library where Laura is. And we have Ethel Schlegel, that's an environmental library, and it's on a lake, beautiful library. We have the south, this is our newest library. And then we have a small little community library called the Turner Library. And we have the West Wyandotte Library. These are our mobile buses that we use to go to places where we feel we know that it's too far for kids to walk, so we go to the areas to serve them. And then these are the kind of free little free libraries that we have scattered through our community. So the e-community library has an e-card, and that was launched in 2014. It houses all the library digital collections, including streaming movies and music, ebooks, e-magazines, e-comics, and databases. We own 9,039 digital titles and has access to 1,051,000 more through subscriptions. The e-card is a digital library card that can be used to access anything in the e-community, and that really served us well through the pandemic. During the pandemic, we spent and put additional $100,000 in because we knew that that was the only way that our patrons could have access to our collection, and just so that we have a variety of items for them to pick out. So the Kansas City, Kansas Public Library Foundation, it's an independent community-based nonprofit organization whose purpose is to raise private money to enrich services and expand the reach of our public supported library system. We have, before that, it was called the Friends of the Library. And in 2006, after 27 years of operation, the Friends of the Library made the decision to dissolve the organization because of declining membership and limited volunteer opportunities were factors that contributed to this decision. However, in 2007, when a notice was received of a bequest to the Friends of the Library from the Margaret Lubratovich estate, and she bequested $400,000 to the library. She loved library. She didn't live too far from the library. And this bequest prompted the Friends of the Library leadership team to establish the Friends of the Library Foundation that was renamed the Kansas City, Kansas Public Library Foundation in 2011. Marguerite was born in Missouri, in Illinois. Her father, she was born in Kansas City, Kansas, but her father was born in Illinois. She married Michael Lubratovich, who was born in Kansas City, Kansas, but his parents, both his parents came from Yugoslavia. So that is what we were really thankful for the far-sighted and generous gift from her estate. So what the foundation does is support our staff development. We have the American Libraries Association, we have National Public Library Association, and we have local state Kansas City Library Association. And sometimes our budget can't cover all that. And that's where our foundation comes into play. We could just apply to them and let them know what the needs are. And they always generously, for all these years, I've never had them say, no, we can't. They'll always look at ways to support the libraries. They also support our summer reading programs. Every year they give money because obviously when the kids come out of school, that's when we have them for our summer readings. And because of our friends, our foundation members, we can support that. And of course, they can be found online at kckplfoundation.com. Now, going into our pandemic, and I'm just going to a little thing share with you the pandemic operating timeline. As I said, this will be part of our new strategic plan for the new year so that we know if anything comes again, what to do, when to do it. We've learned a lot over the past 2 years. So March 18 in 2020, we closed and sent all staff home under a stay-home order. And by May 27, I've ordered the supervisory staff to return and help us prepare all the buildings, because I just felt uncomfortable. People needed us. Parents were exhausted having kids at home all day and didn't know what to do anymore. So on June 1st of 2020, our staff returned. The buildings remained closed to the public, but we began our curbside services. And then on March 22nd of 2021, so we had that almost a whole year, buildings reopened with time and capacity restrictions. So March 29th of 2021, our mobile libraries were back in service, but with the delivery only. We did not allow anybody onto the buses, but we have awnings that we can put out in tables, and people can pick up their interlibrary loans outside, and we can check them out. And then June of this year, our buildings are all fully opened with no capacity restrictions. Masks required though, and social distancing required. And we have still shortened hours. We don't open on Sundays. We open 7 days a week, but since pandemic, we just go until a Saturday. And of course, until 7 at night, every night, instead of 9 o'clock. So the impact of the pandemic, we'll do it before, during, and after. Our physical checkouts, obviously before, was 834,000. And you can see we went completely, we declined 68.5% up until September 13th. Our e-content checkouts, that's our ebooks and our audio, we increased, as you can see, because people checked out more on our e-community library. Our gate count is a physical count that the gates does when people come into our library. We had a decline of 73%. And the number of e-cards that we issued rose to 87.13%. And it makes us feel good about that. So I'm gonna hand it over to Laura Lovelace, who will take you through and explain to you what we did during these, and that's all our libraries. But instead of all speaking, we'll have Laura take over. Thanks, Laura.
Thank you, and good morning, good evening. And so as Carol said, I'm going to talk to you about what our management group decided and how we tackled this process. And so first of all, everybody, we were all watching the news. We knew this was coming. We were watching what was happening in your part of the world. It was making its way toward us. And to think of that this is a once in a lifetime event happening to all of us, not just us, not just you, not just some other country. All of us were experiencing the same thing at the same time. And so when we went home on March the 18th, that was a Wednesday, I actually think that because this had never happened, we could not wrap our minds around this. I actually think that we thought we would probably be back to work on Monday, a short couple of days later. And so people went home with plans for what movies they were going to watch, what closets they were going to clean. We were all focused on getting our groceries and our toilet paper, and not so much about what was going to happen to the library. But as time wore on, it became quickly apparent that this wasn't going to be a couple of day event. And so our management team started meeting and discussing just basically an internal evaluation of what's our mission. And our mission is to serve people, to connect people to the things that they need. And I think probably it's a universal idea that people get into library work because we like to be with people. We like to talk about books and movies. We like to connect people to the things that they need. And so in those terms, it was very hard for our group of employees to be home and to be that disconnected from what we do every day. Obviously, there are some departments that easily adapted to work from home. All of our data services, the web people, the e-content, our social media and PR, the people who buy the books, all computer work. They're not front-facing staff. They were very easily adapted to work from home. Our big challenge was how do we adapt the staff that are public-facing, that those of us that work the desk every day and put papers and books in people's hands and help people with the copy machine and help people sign up for email. How are we going to help them? And that wasn't so easily adapted in the situation that we were in. And the first thing that I decided to do with my staff was I need a quick survey of what everyone's capability is at home. Even though it's 2021, not everybody has internet access at home and not everybody has a smartphone or a computer. And so we did a quick email, phone survey about, do you have internet? Do you have a computer? Do you have phone? Can you make a video? Do you already have social media access? Things like that. And surprisingly, I think I only had, out of 30 employees for my building, I only had one that really didn't have internet access. And so once we figured out what their capabilities were at home, then we said, okay, then we need to look at everyone's job descriptions. And what is it that we have already designated them qualified to do and assigned to do, but also in considering, here we have exempt staff versus non-exempt staff, and non-exempt staff cannot work more than 40 hours a week without being paid overtime. And so that's a consideration. They also have certain things in their job that can't be done. And so then it's about dividing out who's going to do what job, and to make sure that we're not breaking any law with having people do something that they shouldn't be doing. And then the next thing that I did was I said, okay, what is everybody's hidden knowledge base? What's your hidden skill? What's your hobby? Everybody has something that they're good at, whether they think they are or not. And so my example is that I have an employee on staff who's in a band, and he has a lot of recording equipment in his home. And he made videos on how to, a history of the steel guitar and how to play one, a history of the keyboard and how to play one. And everybody eats, right? And no one was eating out because everything was closed. And so we had people start writing down interesting recipes and making videos of some of those things. And the easiest thing, obviously, to adapt was an online story time. And I'm telling you, there's a lot of staff that volunteered to do story time that have no history doing story time, that you would not ever have believed that some of our folks would be willing to get in front of a camera live on Facebook and do a little dance and song and read stories to kids. But I think that's how motivated staff were to get back to some semblance of their job and our mission. But we also took the opportunity to have staff do a lot of training. Those annual trainings required by HR on sexual harassment and things like that, we went ahead and had staff do all of those things. We did offer up a number of special things that we had not done before. And so wireless printing, we discovered fairly quickly that a lot of the questions that we were getting was, I just need to make copies. Where can I make copies? And with no one open, you couldn't make a copy anywhere. You couldn't even get into a bank lobby or anything like that. And so we really focused on the wireless printing aspect. I'm not sure if you all have that there in Croatia, but people can email a document to our printer, and when they get here, release it, print it. And so we suspended all costs for services like that during the pandemic. We were not going to make people pay for anything like that. As Carol mentioned, we did spend more money on e-content. We knew that was the only way while we were closed that our patrons would have access to material. And so we beefed that collection up intensely. We did spend a lot more money advertising on social media and on radio. Social media turned out to be, probably this is true for you all as well, the number one way we communicated with people during the pandemic was social media. And we also, we have Wi-Fi in all of our buildings, and it did extend prior to the pandemic a little bit outside the front doors, but we did invest in extending our Wi-Fi range all the way out into the street and through the parking lot in the park behind us and the other branches as well, so that folks could sit outside and be socially distanced by themselves, and they could still have access to Wi-Fi for work or entertainment or whatever they needed. But that was greatly appreciated. We see a lot of people on our property after hours using Wi-Fi. And then the single biggest thing probably that's new that we did was we started engaging in online programming, which I'm very excited to tell you about. That's probably the thing that I'm most proudest of. But here in America, a phenomenon that really quickly swept through the public library field was this idea of curbside service. So once we brought employees back June 1st, we started letting people call in and placing their holds, or they could do it on their own by email or by phone. And then when they were ready to pick up the material, they would come to our parking lot to a designated area. That sign you see, that was parking spot number 15 right there. They park in their spot. They call us, tell us they're here. They tell us what parking spot we're in. They get their ID ready. We bring their material out to the car, and we started either placing it in the trunk or the back seat, not even handing material to people. Because you got to remember, early on in the pandemic, we were terrified of every surface anybody touched for any amount of time. So that process was contactless. Patrons just held up their ID to the car window. We looked at it, and everything was good to go. We did offer book drop return service only, and we did quarantine all of our material for various amounts of time, depending on what was recommended and what was being researched and notified. Carol mentioned that kids went home for spring break and then just never returned to school. And when she mentioned that parents were in that early phase, parents were desperate for what to do with their kids because they couldn't take them anywhere. One of my first experiences was I walked some material out to a car. It was a mom. She had 3 kids in the car. And I gave her material and I said, "Is there anything else I can help you with?" And she tried to get me to take one of her kids. And I laughed. And I'm pretty sure she was serious. But they were younger kids. And after, spring break and a couple of weeks at home, they were ready for something else to do. But I did politely decline that. But that's basically how stressed everybody was at that time. So our curbside service, we also, if people needed to print, then we coordinated that on the phone and we would take their prints out to them. We were leading up to a voter registration deadline. And so we did begin taking voter registration at curbside. We were issuing library card applications at curbside and any other kind of take-home kit that we had. I know one of our branches had a job skills, job fair kit, and they had a lot of helpful material for people who were applying for jobs and creating resumes and things like that.
Sorry to interject, Laura, can you open up your slides bigger for the whole screen? No, you can't do it, yeah.
I don't know.
Yes, okay, sorry.
So here at the main library, we're a downtown urban environment. And so we deal with a lot of folks who are walkers. And it could be that they don't have a car, or it could be that they work downtown and don't want to get a car out of a parking garage and stuff. And so we opened up a walk-up desk in our lobby, and we stationed staff at that desk. And they did the same things that they did for curbside. We let people pick up material with ID. We did wireless printing pickup, voter registration, library cards, take-home kit, and the same process. Except that we were sitting there and we were behind a plexi shield. And we added a book drop to the lobby so that our book drop here at the main library is behind the building. And so instead of making people walk all the way around to the back of the building, we let people return things there in the lobby. As I said, social media during a pandemic, I think our communications staff member director, she would wholeheartedly agree that this was the primary way that we communicated with our people during this period. And she was bombarded. She is a one-person show. And there were just so many questions about, were we closed? Were we open? How do they get their books? How do they print? That we did create an Ask a Librarian service to help her, and we could assign librarian staff from throughout the system to man that station to help answer those type questions. The single biggest thing we did probably was Facebook Live story time. And not sure what it's like in Croatia, but here with the publishing industry, they have strict guidelines about copyright and how you can and can't use books in live recordings, live viewings and live recordings. And so we had to work within those guidelines. Almost every publisher in this country suspended their copyright restrictions to allow libraries a mechanism for getting storytime access to kids throughout the country. And so we started that service. Like Carol said, we went home March 18th, and we started that service very quickly on April the 6th. And there was a lot of learning that went along with that, especially, like I said, when we had staff that had never done story times before, to have to figure out how to set up a camera, how to get into Facebook Live, and just getting comfortable doing something like that. But our peak views were 2,600, and we had a total view, our story time from, this is about a year and a half at this point, of 103,000 people viewed our story times, which is really pretty amazing. But we answered an awful lot of other social media reference questions, and not necessarily about COVID or what was going on with the library, but just other reference questions. It may not seem like a lot, but for what we normally do with social media, those are big numbers. And I thought I would include in this slide all the ways that we can be followed on social media. TikTok is pretty new for us, and so we're still kind of getting our feet with the TikTok videos. But Facebook, hands down, was the #1 way that most people communicated with us. So programming during a pandemic. Once we realized that we probably were not going to be open to the public for a good long time, we had to get serious about how we were going to get things for staff to do and to reach our public. And like I told you, what I would call phase 1, we were doing take home and craft activities. That was the simplest, easiest thing to do. We started that June 1st, and we're still doing that. And people love it. A craft kit, a take home craft kit, everything that you need to create the craft is included in that bag, whether it be glue stick, kid scissors, crayons, markers, everything. It's already cut out. It's all already done. We have very clear instructions with photos on there. Parents love those. Kids love those. Parents love them so much they started asking for an adult version. So then we started doing adult crafts, and they love those. Then we started, I saw this on Facebook. I stole this idea from Facebook. We started a spice club. And it is a way for people to try different spices without having to invest in an awful lot of spice containers for their cabinet that they may never use again. So we have done everything from an Ethiopian spice kit. This month is Hispanic Heritage Month, so we have an adobo spice kit. But we have done Greek and Italian and all sorts of interesting things. And so that is very, very popular. The job fair package I was telling you about for job seekers, it had donations and flash drives with resources loaded on them for people, and templates for creating a resume and interviewing skill kits and things like that. Family budgeting package was another big thing. The single probably biggest giveaway that we ever do is our February celebration of Black History Month. And that is something that is very important to this community and our library. And we wanted to make sure that we didn't miss out on this month. So what we did was we created a packet. Each week was different, and it would have a quiz and different reading lists, and basically Black History Month themed gifts inside that packet. This, like I said, this is Hispanic Heritage Month. And so last year and this year both, we have done activity packs for kids with crafts and different things. And so once we kind of settled into routine with the take home and the activity kits, we thought, okay, this really isn't going to end anytime soon. So what next steps can we take to improve our programming and connect to our public? And so probably like most everybody here, we had maybe attended a Zoom meeting once or twice that someone else had organized. And suddenly we had to learn Zoom by the seat of our pants, just like everyone else. And so we started doing Zoom programming and online programming. And the first thing we did was try to figure out what were we already doing that would be an easy and natural transition to Zoom or online. So hands down, book club was our #1 thing. And my book club in particular is a group of older ladies, and they have embraced this concept of storytime by Zoom. And we may never go back to in-person because of this. But we have also had people now from Texas join our book club, and Virginia, who obviously if we were having it in person, they would never be able to do that. And so it's opened up a lot of horizons for us. But we've had, we started scheduling guest speakers, authors, story times. We do a lot of gaming. We have a large homeschool population here. And so we do a lot of STEM programming for them, science, technology, engineering, and mechanical. And so we do a lot of that with them. We've had writing programs. We've had resume and interviews, practicing. We have language classes. We do a meditation program every Wednesday at noon. We have actually transitioned our computer classes to Zoom, if you can believe that. And I'm not sure anybody believed that would be successful, but we do a great business with Zoom classes. And then our staff have also done things like a digital escape room. We did a pirate digital escape room during the pandemic that made it onto the National Girl Scouts to-do list website. And so we were pretty excited about that. And so this is all still ongoing as well. And the final phase and where we are now is we have started doing socially distant programming, and which just means outside. We are not doing any programming inside our libraries right now, just due to the nature of the pandemic. But there are many things that are adaptable for outside. And so story walk, story time. So story walk, I don't know if that's a unique thing here, but you take a book, this will break your heart, but you do tear it up. You deconstruct it, and each 2 book pages get put in a sign holder, and whatever path you might have and you want people to walk, they read a page and they walk and do an activity. And then they read the next page and they walk and do an activity until they have read the whole book. And we generally pick books that lend themselves to some kind of activity. And it could be exercise, it could be skipping, it could be repeating something, anything. But our Yoga by the Lake has been a very popular program at our F.L. Schlegel Environmental Learning Library. Carol was telling you about our branch on the lake. It's a beautiful setting, and it is handmade for some of the things to do outside. They suspended last year's summer camps. They do a lot of summer camp activity for kids, where kids come and learn all sorts of interesting things about science and nature and biology and ecology. But this year we were able to have a reduced number of summer camps, and I know parents were very happy about that. We've had things like a petting zoo, which is outside. We have a group that brings miniature horses and donkeys and pigs and cows and chickens. And one kid, when I was advertising this, asked me if there was going to be, an elephant there. And I said, well, I'm pretty sure not, but come anyway and see, because you never know. And then Schlegel Environmental Library, they've also had the disc dog comes, and those are dogs that perform running and fetching activities, and they are phenomenal if you've never seen them. But some of our branches also do outdoor movies. And so you can rent inflatable, very large scale inflatable movie screens. And we have, I think South Branch in particular, when they would have outdoor activities, they use sidewalk chalk or paint to designate family areas. And then we would measure off space to keep everybody perfectly socially distanced. We have done things like Library in the Park. That's a big outdoor event. Our Butterfly Festival, also Schlegel. They are a way station on the butterfly, on the monarch migration, and they do a big festival to celebrate that. And so even though they're numbered phase 1, 2, and 3, we are still doing all of these things. We just progress from one to the other as guidelines from the health department and the CDC sort of relaxed and changed. And we continue to adapt with them to what we will be allowed to do. So here's some pictures of just some of the craft bags that I thought I might show you. Those are the Black History take-home bags that we have. A sample of a children's take-home craft. This was a dinogram where they could create their own little dinosaur, and all the foam pieces are right there. And the bag includes a glue stick to get them all together. This month in particular, our adult craft is make your own lip balm. Everything you need, the container, everything is in that case. I can't stress to you enough how popular the craft kits have been with people. We have done some really interesting Zoom and online programming. And so we try to create programs that are representative of our very multicultural community. We did have a read aloud. And so it's the first time we have ever done it. And we had decided that we were going to get Isabel Wilkerson to come to an event and discuss her book Cast. Now, she is a Pulitzer Prize winning author. So this was no small thing that we pulled off, but the book is really interesting, and she calls it casteism, but it really is about racism in this country. And so since it was such an important topic and one worth spending plenty of time with, we decided to do a read aloud, and we read that book from beginning to end with the public. And then we had discussion questions, and we had open and very very challenging discussions about how everybody feels about racism and what's happening there. We've also done things like online programming for how to do African-American genealogy. We have a local history room here in my building and a librarian in charge of that. And she does a fantastic job with helping people with genealogy questions and requests. And then one thing that we haven't mentioned to you is our county is named Wyandotte, and that is named after a Native American tribe originally called the Wyandot, and just over time has become the Wyandotte. And they came from Upper Ohio and that area to this area. And so we did a book launch. One of their members developed this book, Daughters of the Atenzic, and we did a book launch and a reading of that book as well. Right behind where I sit outside the window is the Huron Indian Cemetery. And there are many Huron and Wyandotte buried there, and that's a National Historic Site at this point. And so we've done a lot of multicultural things. We try to focus on those just so that we are making sure that we are representing our community in all of its multicultural glory. This is the thing that I was telling you, this is probably what I'm most proudest of, because this is when we did the survey of staff for what were your skills and abilities, then this is what we put together. And so for people who cannot attend a program when it's at a designated time or place, like a Zoom event, we developed what we called a programming blog. And we used WordPress, a service we were already using for our readers advisory component. And people can do these things at their own pace. And so we created it in April of 2020, shortly after we went home. We are still doing it. And I imagine this we will always do. People enjoy it. We have created more than 1,000 entries in this post. We've had 37,000 visitors and more than 110,000 views, which is really quite astounding when you think about it. And from countries all over the world. These things we tweet about it and put it on Facebook, and then people forward it to friends. And before you know it, people from 95 countries have joined in and taken part of either our Zoom and online programming or a programming blog. And so I just wanted to show you a sample of some of the entries that we have made. Hands down, the most popular things are recipes, and then the craft things, and then local history things. But part of what I wanted to show you was how when we hit on staff hobbies and skills, so Mike is the staff member who is in a band. That's his steel guitar, and he created a video on the history of that and how to play it. Travels with Steve. So Steve is one of our employees who in a previous job was he worked for the National Park Service and was a guide. And he has done a lot of blog entries about different parks that he's worked at. It might be Glacier National Park, Carlsbad Cavern, different places. And it gives you a great history from somewhere that he's been and that he knows greatly about. But hands down, recipes has been the #1 thing. And so one of our fantastic employees, Magda, does a lot of really great cooking, and she creates a lot of recipes. I saw her here, so thank you, Magda. She's created a lot of recipes for us and written a history about things like that. So in this particular one is how to make homemade yogurt in 6 hours. But we also did a lot of posts about how to help people. So during this pandemic, our state was caught up in unemployment fraud scheme. It happened in much of the country. Kansas got hit pretty hard. And I personally got caught up in this. Someone filed for unemployment in my name. And so if any of you have ever tried to correct something with the government, you know it's a lot of red tape. And so I personally wrote that unemployment fraud blog on what to do if this happens to you, because it's no small thing to get that corrected. And that has been close to a year now, and I'm still dealing with that. But a lot of really interesting things. And so then I'll show you some of our outdoor programming. This is where we are really starting to have a little bit more fun. That top left picture, that is our FL Schlegel branch. That is the view from their facility. We would all love to work there. If we can only talk Carol into getting us a pontoon boat, then that would be the perfect location. But part of what they do for their summer camp is they take kids out onto the ramp there and they teach them how to fish. And then over on the right, you see the yoga by the lake. That is one of our miniature horses that came for the petting zoo. He was everybody's favorite. And then I wanted to show you a picture of what a story walk might look like. And so that lower left picture, that is also at the Schlegel Library. And each of those sign holders has a page from a book, and you have to actually deconstruct 2 books to make a story walk work. And so kids would read a page, walk a little bit, do whatever activity is instructed on that page, and they would walk to the continuation of the story until they get to the end. And all of our branches were able to do this. But if you all are interested, and Carol and I can work out, we have hundreds of photos that we could send you of things that we have done during this, way more than we could fit into a presentation like this. But there were just so many opportunities to do things outdoor. It's going to slow down a little because, of course, fall and winter is coming, and then we won't be able to do much. But we're hoping that by then that this will calm down a little and we can do in-person programming again. So I thought you might want to know about what has happened to our programming statistics during this period. So I showed you in the fiscal year 17 and 18, we had 3,400 programs for 52,000 people. That's all of our branches combined. And then fiscal year 18-19, 3,900 programs, 56,000 participants. And you can see, I could have gone back farther, but our natural progression is to inch up 3,000, 4,000, 5,000 a year in attendance. And then fiscal year 19-20, and of course, before we could get to the end of that fiscal year, the pandemic hit. And so we were on our way to very normal numbers, but we leveled off at 2,800 programs for 37,000 people. And then all of 2020 was pandemic. And then part of fiscal year 2021, our fiscal year 2021 would end June 30th. But I included these statistics through September to show you where we are right now. So while we were doing way fewer programs, look at our participants. And I think that our next challenge is how are we going to keep these people? We have created a whole new audience of people interested in being engaged with the library because of the pandemic that probably we weren't reaching before. I think much of our culture is a digital driven society. I'm old school. I'm used to thinking about the person standing in front of me and what do I hand to them? What do I speak face to face with them? But if this has taught me anything, it's that there's a whole other population out there that we weren't connecting with, and now we are, and now we have to figure out how to maintain that. And we look forward to building something like that into our strategic plan, because I think to say that we have almost doubled what we were previously doing in a normal year of 17, 18, 18, 19, that's pretty telling to me. And so I think we have some good work ahead of us. And then I thought I would tell you about our multicultural community. And so our 10-year census just was completed last year. Our county, like Carol said, has a population of over 169,000, and that is an increase, 7.5% from 10 years ago. And that is after several decades of a loss of population. And so we're finally seeing an increase there. And so I thought I would show you the interesting thing about our county is that we do not have one single ethnic majority. There is no ethnicity or race that is over 50%. We are very, very spread out in our community. You can see it 37% white, 20% black, 33% Hispanic, and then much smaller numbers. But on the right, you can see where we are growing and losing. So the white and black population are both decreasing from 2010. But Hispanic and Latino is growing at 34%. Asian is probably our largest growth sector, and that they're growing at 96% population from 10 years ago. We're also seeing, so the Native American Pacific Islander, that is growing, but that is a small number to begin with. And so it probably seems a little bit larger than it is. But we are seeing a tremendous growth also in people that are reporting 2 or more races as opposed to before. And then some other race that our census doesn't cover is up 213%, which it is really interesting to be in a community that is so racially diverse. Personally, I think it helps you grow and think about things that you might not have thought about before. And so we work hard to try to figure out ways to serve different minority groups. And the single biggest thing that we do is through Heritage Month celebrations. And so I told you about Black History. I mentioned that we're right in the middle of Hispanic Heritage Month. We just had Asian Pacific American Heritage. Native American Heritage is in November. Women's History is in March. And we try to do programming and displays and celebrations each of those months to help people celebrate what their own ethnic culture heritage is. And as Heritage Month editions come along, we're going to add to our slate so that we can celebrate even more people. We do a lot of language learning here. Mango Database is the single database that we have on helping people learn a new language. And there are, I don't know, over 200 languages in there. It's pretty incredible. We do also a lot of English as a second language classes here because we have so many immigrants and minorities that English is not their first language. They're working on their improving their English. And then we do conversational Spanish, which is the reverse. And that is people who are English speakers who are learning Spanish. That is an opportunity for them to practice their Spanish. And right now, because as Carol said, we have a Russian staff member on board, she is offering a Learn Russian class. And some of these, everything, in the library world, much of what we do is dependent on the skills that you have for your staff. And so we're just thankful that we have diverse people that can bring different ideas. Magda, I was telling you about with the recipe, she's from the Czech Republic, and she did a Czech Easter egg decorating program last year. I guess we were still open, so it was the year before. Was really quite well received, and those things were beautiful. And our speakers taught about the history of that and the cultural meaning, and it was really quite interesting. We do focus a lot on readers advisory, and we highlight different minority groups each month. And so we have staff that work on building those collections and providing things for people. We do try to promote on social media. Everyone should read more diversely, expand everyone's horizons. And then Carol had mentioned diverse collection staffing. That is important so that it's not the same perspective trying to buy books for people that they can't necessarily connect to culturally. We are working on very diverse collections. It's hard. It's hard to get Spanish material. It's even harder to get material in other languages. But we are seeing some things come around now. We have a very large Burmese population here. And so we do help people in different languages. But our collection development team has provided some websites for you if you're looking to buy more diverse material. These are a lot of sites that they go to help them build those collections. We also do a lot of computer assistance, not just for minority groups, for all groups, but we do help people. You know, everything is online now, and there are many people that just don't have technology skills that they're able to do it, and throw in the language barrier and it's even harder. So we find ourselves sitting down next to people many times, helping them fill out an application for a work visa or a green card or any kind of benefit through the state of Kansas. It's all online. We do resume reviews for people who sometimes need grammar help if English isn't their first language. We have a lot of career testing sites that we use. And again, like I said, job applications. So we do curate a list of sites on our website to help not just the public, but also to help staff know where to go to find people. And so I thought I would show you, and you can visit this at any time, but on the culture tab, these are just a few of the cultures that make up Wyandotte County: African American, Asian and Pacific Islander, European, Hispanic, Native American. And each one of those has a curated collection of links to go to. The museum tab, these are some of our local museums. That old Quindaro Museum is really quite interesting. A part of our community situated on the river was a stop on the Underground Railroad. And there is a very rich history there of that time period and what transpired there. And then the other thing on the right, the resource material, we do curate collections of local resources to help people with whatever they need. But we do have a tab for refugees, which I'll show you. But we also help veterans, homeless people, family. You can see disability and handicap. And as I said, it's as much for the public as is for our staff for helping people. So this is what one of the culture tabs looks like. It's very simple, but our local Kansas room, we do have quite the history on the Quindaro area, and we have a timeline and we keep all of that on our website. And downtown, I wanted to show you this because this is interesting. Our downtown area, a couple of years ago, decided to really embrace the cultural diversity of our downtown area. And these are banners that hang on our city light poles. And they celebrate all of this cultural differentness working together and living together in our downtown urban area. And these are the areas that they selected. These are people, that lady in the middle from Europe, she is a former library worker. And these are all people that their heritage is from that area. And you can walk around downtown and find dozens of these. And it's really interesting to see an area really embrace their differences instead of working against each other. And so I think probably what you're most interested in is how we serve immigrants. And this is a challenge for everybody, but more than 70 different languages are spoken in our school district. And it's pretty astounding. And so as a result, we offer our library card application in 5 different languages to try to meet the needs of the largest parts of those populations: English, Spanish, Swahili, Burmese, and Nepalese. And then one of our neighborhoods in particular by the West Wyandotte Library is a very large Burmese community. And so their staff worked with a translator to create a door hanger there in Burmese. And it is just welcoming people to the library. What we find is that a lot of people new to this country don't understand the concept of what our public library system is, right? And so we're trying to make them feel welcome and educate them on all the resources that we have. Our staff does use Google Translate, iTranslate, and our school district uses a brand new app called Propio One. And it is, it connects you with a live translator in whatever language you select. And so, you know, we do what we can to try to communicate with people. We do have a very large Hispanic population here, obviously. And so we try to focus on Spanish speaking staff. And the little buttons on the right, we'll have staff wear them. And one says, I speak Spanish, and one says, I speak a little Spanish. And so even our staff who speak a little Spanish, they're more often Spanish speakers are more willing to approach them than someone who doesn't have a button like that on. But we do have databases like a Tumble Book Library. That's an interactive kid database we have. And their items are all in English, Spanish, and French. And so when we encounter people who need those things, we want to direct them to that. We do a number of very, very significant partnership programs with agencies in our community. And so we have offered citizenship classes at the South Branch Library and other places. And that is through Catholic Charities. Catholic Charities happens to be right across the street from the main library, but they are the preeminent organization in our metro area for helping refugees get resettled somewhere with housing, with food, with resources, with jobs. We work with them to provide the location. They provide the teachers that help these folks work on their citizenship. Plaza Comunitaria is a partnership with the Mexican consulate, and it helps adult education learners work on their Mexican version of our GED. So if they didn't graduate high school, I'm not sure what you have there. Our GED is a general education diploma. So instead of graduating high school, you would get a GED. And Plaza Comunitaria helps Spanish speakers do that. And we've had a number of people graduate through that program through the Mexican consulate. This has all been suspended because of COVID, but as soon as we can go back to in-person, we will pick these things up again. And I had mentioned to you that we do conversational Spanish. Those are for English speakers. And sometimes that's just a normal patron that has an interest in learning Spanish. Sometimes it's people who work at an agency and they need to learn Spanish to help complete part of their job. And then we've done Spanish lessons also for English speakers. We do a Let's Talk program right now. One of the things that we started during COVID was a way to communicate to people who don't have anybody at home. During COVID, you know, they haven't had anybody to socialize with. And we see these people every day normally, and we've worried about them. What has happened to them? Who are they talking with? How are they getting their socialization for the day? So we started this thing called Let's Talk, and it has ended up being, instead of what we intended it for, it has been something where we have 3 or 4 people from India joining us every week, and they are practicing their English with us. And so it is whatever was on the news last night, that's what we talk about. One day we spent the entire hour talking about food, but it's a great way for them to practice their English with native English speakers. And then we did a thing, we have such a multicultural staff that we did a thing called People of the World Unite. And we worked with the time difference, much like we're doing with you. And people who had family still in other countries, we would bring them on and they would talk about what was going on there. And so our public could meet our friends and family time. Okay, I see Carol giving me notice. So The next thing is we do a lot of life skills training for library tours, like I said, for many people who are not used to what a public library is like in this country. We get them oriented to that. Also on our website, I just wanted you to see some of the agencies that deal with refugees, in particular Catholic Charities, the one on the left. That's, like I said, that is the preeminent organization in our community that helps refugees. We also curate resources for family resources, health and wellness. And then I thought very briefly, since you might be interested in our Strawberry Hill neighborhood, and so I will run through this, but that painting there is by Marijana Tomičić. She is one of our homegrown artists and born and raised here in the Strawberry Hill neighborhood. That is it. That church you see, that is St. John's. That is the centerpiece of our Strawberry Hill neighborhood. It's right there on the river. And so she has a number of paintings. She's from Kansas. So the Kansas Museum of History has a number of them, but she has 10 paintings in Croatia, and one of them is the city of Karlovac somewhere. I'm not sure where. But Strawberry Hill gets its name from the wild strawberry vines that grew there. And it's a Slavic American community in the very eastern part. The river is our boundary, the very eastern part of our boundary. Established in the late 1800s when many European immigrants settled the area, including Croatian. Like I said, St. John Baptist Church is the centerpiece. It was established by immigrants in 1900. Every pastor in their history has been Croatian speaking. And at some point after the Spanish flu swept through in 1919, many young children became orphans because of the Spanish flu. And St. John Church and Sisters of St. Francis of Christ the King opened an orphanage. And that's what you see at the bottom. That purple house was where the orphanage started. And the limestone structure to the right, that was the dormitory. And over the years, up until 1988, they housed about just over 3,000 kids there during that time. And in 1988, it was sold and turned into the Strawberry Hill Museum and Cultural Center. And we were talking about, I think our mayor was talking about the World Cup and that lower right photo. They have a bowling alley in that church. It's the most fascinating thing. They have a bowling alley in that church. And they, my friend Don Taylor is a member of that band whose name I cannot pronounce, but I wanted to show you some of their festival pictures that he all shared with me. They do an annual Croatia Day. They do a Croatian picnic. And as always, they celebrate World Cup whenever Croatia is playing. So that's all I have.
Okay, you can hear me now?
So,
Can you hear me? Okay. Well, thank you very much, Mrs. Laura and Mrs. Carol, for your presentations. Thank you for getting us to know your library much better, and you shared with us very interesting information. Your presentations were exceptional, and I think they will give a big benefit to our librarians who are here in Croatia, as also in the United States. Okay, now we have some time to ask our guests questions, and I am encouraging you now to share your comments, your questions, your suggestions. Please feel free to take part in our discussion, as you can ask your questions live or via chat. So you can ask our guests, if you have camera and microphone, you can ask them live, or you can ask questions in chat. I must mention that the entire meeting is also being recorded, so you can watch the video afterwards as well. And this video will be also on our YouTube channel of our libraries. So let's see if there's any questions. Or maybe you have some kind of comment or something to add. Okay.
I have one question. How many IT professionals you have employed?
Sorry, I couldn't hear you.
How many
IT professionals?
you have employed? in the
IT,
library? Professionals.
do we have 4?
Or
Oh, the whole professional, just librarians, or did you say IT?
IT.
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 Sam, how many do you think? 5?
So we currently have an e-content librarian, a data librarian, and a web and data services supervisor. 3 IT techs that actually service both the public school libraries and the public libraries themselves, myself, and a network services manager. So that is 5, and a training specialist as well. So that 5, 4, so that's 9 IT specialists on staff.
Mr. Miroslav, did we answer all the questions that you wanted answered?
Yes, I have another question.
No, I mean on your list.
Yes.
Okay.
I didn't hear quite well, but what is Butterfly Festival?
Okay, Laura?
So we have an outdoor event where our staff at the Schlegel Library participate in the monarch butterfly migration pattern. And believe it or not, they tag monarch butterflies. Now, I can't imagine how tiny that tag is to fit on the side of a butterfly, but it does. And then they have data points all the way down to Mexico. And as the butterfly tag dings a locator, then they create this this map of where the monarchs are migrating and where they are and when they get there and things like that. And so they just do an outdoor festival to celebrate that whole process, everything about butterflies.
They have little kids with butterfly nets catching those butterflies and then tagging them. And they even show them the whole evolution, of the butterfly. So we have schools coming to our libraries to see that. And this is the time they start flying south because it's getting winter up here now. So they're going to go to warmer climates.
Thank you very much. Does anyone else have another question or comment? No? Okay, I will give to you also my opinion. I think you have a great services for immigrants, for multicultural people, and that's very impressive, I think. But do you have any services for how to say people in wheelchairs, invalid? If you understand me.
All our libraries are wheelchair accessible, and we have to have our shelvings at least, is it 3 foot? I think 3 foot apart so that it's wheelchair accessible. Our computer labs, a wheelchair can, go to, and we even have the height for wheelchair only people that want to access the catalog.
We also have a service called what we call proxy. And if a person is disabled and can't come to the library, they can pick someone to be their proxy, and they have authority to use their library card, come check out books for them, and take care of them that way. But a big part of what our mobile buses do as well is visit nursing home sites. And our West Wyandotte branch in particular, they do a lot of delivery of books and material to nursing homes and places like that where people maybe aren't driving anymore and can't get out. But we still provide them with movies and books, and their staff are phenomenal at listening to what people want, and making every effort. If they ask for a certain movie or a certain book, we make sure we get it and provide it to them. And it's pretty time and staff intensive, but it's worth it to meet people. And we're always looking for ways to try to help people. And I think that the curbside delivery probably is never going to go away for some people. The folks who struggled, most of our buildings, you have to walk a significant way from the parking lot to get into the building, and that's hard for some people. And I think that the folks who struggled with that, I don't know how many times I've heard people say, I hope you keep doing this. I love it. And I imagine that we will, because it's a very easy thing. We've already learned to incorporate it into our routine. So why would we stop now? You know, for people who like it and it's hard for them to get in, it's just another way for us to get books and materials into their hands.
We also have fitted on our bookmobiles lifts. So when they go out and deliver books, so that obviously nursing homes, those are the people who are kind of maybe not bedridden, but the ones in wheelchairs, if they want to come up into the bus, they can be lifted there.
We have in the past also taken programs out to nursing homes. COVID obviously has put a halt to all of that, but we have done things as simple as reading to people. All ages like to be read to. That joy never goes away. And so, and staff enjoy reading to people, but also we have taken craft programs and things out for nursing homes just to give residents a break from what they normally do at their site. And so that's always fun for staff to do as well.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And now I have another question. How will your new strategy look like, and when will you have a new strategy?
We're busy with that. It's kind of in this infancy timeline. We have all our staff involved. Everybody has an idea, because you can't just depend on management to decide what's going to happen in the future, because really you depend on all staff to take part. So we want buy-in. In other words, we want everybody's opinion. Doesn't matter how small or large. And I mean, could think of what we went through and what we think the future will hold. So that is what we are busy with. We have smaller committees that we have discussed a certain area within our strategic plan. And then at the end, we'll come together and kind of fold and see what works and what doesn't work and what we can enhance, or, but it's really in the infancy. But we have to implement it by July 1st, 2022. So obviously, we are going to be much busy in the next couple of months with that.
I can't imagine any library anywhere was prepared for a global pandemic.
We weren't.
We certainly weren't. And so that is definitely going to be part of what we include in our plan, was all the things that we've learned from this, so that even if it takes 100 years for this to happen again, whoever comes after us maybe won't necessarily be starting from scratch.
Correct. But I have to really take my hats off for my staff, because we actually turned on a dime. I mean, it was one day we were off and the next day we had to think outside the box, and there was nothing we could do but to throw ourselves into the deep end and decide what, we couldn't say, what are we going to do? It's like, let's do something. And everybody brought their ideas to the table. And the other thing is, nobody said, no, I don't want to do that. Everybody wanted to do something, even those that never read, like Laura said, never read to a group, or thought they would be able to stand in front of a group of kids. They thought it was hilarious. They loved it. And then I think this pandemic brought out in the staff a different kind of what you can do if you just put yourself to it. So yeah, it reinvented us all, I think.
Yes, yes, I agree with you totally, because it's fascinating, this data that Laura shared with us about a number of programs in 2021, but in the other hand, the number of participants.
Yeah. Yes.
It's very, very interesting, and at least something good from the pandemic.
Yes.
And a lot of people that never even came to the libraries, but boy, they could have access now from their bedrooms, they don't have to get dressed, and they still can have access to the library. And I think that was a wonderful opportunity we could have given them.
Yes. As well as today's meeting with us. Who knows if we would arrange to see us together physically, maybe it wouldn't be so fast, so efficient like now.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you again. Maybe someone else has one comment or suggestion, question. Please ask our guests.
And even if you have an idea afterwards in your thought, don't hesitate, just send us an email. We'll be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Yes, of course, if we will have another questions, we will contact you.
I do have a question, Verdrana. So I know y'all are going to go next, but I'm just curious, were there things that we talked about that y'all were already doing as well, or were you doing curbside?
Well, curbside, I must admit that I didn't understand this term.
When you park, there's parking in front of a library, you have different parking slots.
Oh yeah, okay.
Like the curb of the road. So it's curb. In other words, you park your car, and right in front of the curb, we have it number 1 through 30 or whatever. So you park your car and you say, I'm at number 1 or number 10, and I've got a red Fiat. And then the librarian will know, oh, that's the car that ordered this book. And then we go to that car. But the curb means the curb of the road. Sorry.
Yes. Okay. Now I understand. But I must say, we had a similar things. We called it drive-in. Right. like in McDonald's.
Yeah.
Drive-in. When the pandemic started, it was also March 2020. And also we were closed in a few days. We were also gone home, and we were working from our homes. But just like you, we must very quick to think, what are we going to do now when the pandemic starts? And we adjusted our services similar like you. So we got this drive-in service. So when the car is in front of the library, we have prepared books for our users and sent them an email to pick up their books. We were closed about, I think, 2 months, and in May 2020 we have opened our spaces in library, but it was restriction. Only the main floor was opened, and other floors of library were closed.
We have the same thing like you, but with different numbers.
Yes, we didn't do exactly research about real numbers and statistics before the pandemic and during the pandemic, and now I can say after the pandemic. But for our presentation, which will be in November this year, as we agreed, we will prepare also these statistic data, and we will introduce you with them.
Do you have an idea what date, so that in case there's people on here that will want to know, or at least reserve that date? Do you have a date? As we spoke through an email, now it's the end of the September. I suggest it might be the end of November, if you agree with that, in about 2 months. Okay.
That we
22 or
that we see
29.
again.
Also Monday.
Maybe also on Monday, yes.
29?
On Monday, which date is this? I don't know.
November 29th is on.
November 29.
Okay, just so that we can have an idea and people on the can mark it down.
Yes, yes.
Same time, that'll be great. Mhm.
At the same time, that would be great. We will also have one presentation similar like you, so you can introduce us better. Maybe we can put also maybe some kind of movie or something, so you could know us better.
Sure. And I think we won't be able to, I mean, we don't need to have the mayors and all that in, because we already introduced them. I mean, it's
Okay.
unless you want it, but we don't have to have them. It can just be the librarians, if that's
Okay.
Yes, it's,
Sure.
but you can tell us which topics you want us to
Unmute.
present.
Unmute.
yes, that'll be good. Yeah.
Yes. Did you hear Miroslav?
Yeah, he said just to send him some topics that we would like to know. I know in other Zoom meetings, we could kind of split into groups, and I was wondering, I don't know if we could do it, maybe if, you know, for the time that we had all the dignitaries, maybe we could use that certain groups like circulation group can be together for 15 minutes. But we can work on that.
Yes.
Don't you
It
think
would be
it's good,
possible.
so that people of both sides can share how they do certain things, and that will be still that will be a learning experience as well. But if it doesn't work, you know, we'll just be interested in listening to what you have to say in any case.
Okay. Okay. Yes. Thank you very much. It's very easy to arrange everything with you, so I think we will not have any problem with that. Now
I think
maybe.
Maria wants to say something. She has a hand up.
Okay.
It's Svetnik. Svetnik.
Hi, hello.
Hi.
Hello. At the end, I just
Hello.
want to tell you I'm the librarian and representative from the US Embassy in Zagreb. And because my boss is out, so I can now take the floor. I just want to thank you, everybody, for this very nice meeting, especially Miroslav, who did the job. I gave the idea. He did the whole job with his institution, and I'm very in love with the libraries and librarians, and as well as to United States, of course. And I'm just suggesting that maybe we could open a specific room, virtual room for city mayors. And my aim was just to bring them on the platform of the libraries, because now they are forced to listen what actually we are doing and how important we are. Because people usually, I witnessed this, that everybody will say, oh, libraries are very important. We have to support libraries. But then at the end, when library needs something, then firefighters are more important than librarians, because
right.
come on.
Correct. You're so right. Yes.
Yeah.
Well, I am glad that, you know, and I mean, our mayor will be really receptive of meeting with your mayor, and maybe on a one-on-one, and maybe we can write the agenda for them to discuss and let them discuss things on their own. And if they want us on there, that's fine. But I think we as librarians can have a different way of talking as well, and what our needs are. But you are dead right. You know, they need to know. And yeah, they like to brag about what the library does, but when it comes to the needs, and then they not, because they've got other things to do, and they think it's more important than the libraries. I get you.
Thank you very much, Maria, also for your support and for encouraging us to get in contact with Kansas City libraries. It's a very challenging job, but very, very interesting, and it makes us very happy for that.
Thank you. And I have one practical question. How do you solve competition between the virtual events that students has to be present at their school curricula with the library virtual programs? Because that's something even the US Embassy in Zagreb is struggling when we prepare virtual program on some topics that we consider that could be very interesting. And then it came up that, you know, students who are targeted public couldn't participate because they are tired of 5 hours of virtual events during the day, and despite their interest in the topic, they couldn't sit in front of the, you know, another hour or two in front of the virtual, I mean, screen.
I would suggest you bring it in earlier and not, you know, ask that if you could present earlier than later in the day, because yes, our kids are too, but there's always try and get an incentive. They have to listen to everything, and at the end, if they can answer all the questions, they'll get something worth their while. There's always what they can get will make them sit. And I have the assistant director of school libraries, Candy Hoffman, with me as well. And she can maybe add to that to see what we can do with kids virtually.
I think that what you're saying is very true, is that even though at the beginning kids were fine with being online, the time did get long and it didn't seem as much fun towards the end. Our kids are back in school, so we are not having that kind of remote competition with they have to be in school all day remotely, and now they're gonna anything at night they have to do. So I agree with what Carol said about incentives. I think that there are students who, if they attend so many things and there is some type of product or something that they get, that might help. But also encouraging, like the teachers, sometimes sharing with the teachers what your program is and what they're trying to do. Some teachers could incorporate it with what the students are learning. And therefore have the kids, especially if you're recording these, they could share that with the kids during their regular day learning.
And another thing is, you know, I don't know about you guys, but, you know, depending on the age group, through maybe some young person that they follow, a singer, pop singer or something, and just say, hey, certain person will be here. And we'll sing after we've done whatever you want to let them hear first, and then you entertain them. I think that will also encourage them to, you know, sit in. I mean, these kids nowadays is always what they can get. Otherwise, you know, they just don't listen. Oh, keep the teachers, let the teachers be in the room as well, you know.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mrs. Carroll. Maria, maybe you have some question? No?
Aren't we done? You know,
okay. Yes,
especially
it's
our librarians who are
it's 6
so
o'clock. Yes. Okay.
Thank you for your time. Yeah.
So if you don't have any questions, I will leave now the microphone to Miroslav to closing words. And on behalf of the City Library, even Goran Kovačić, I am thanking you for your attention today and hope to see you soon again.
Yes. Mhm.
I think today we have located the main problem that bothers our both libraries as well, and that is how to keep our new virtual users in the library. I'd like to thank Director Livers and Kansas Public Library staff, especially Laura Lawless, for this wonderful presentation, and of course, all the participants who's been here. I would also like to take this opportunity to thank Mayor Albi again, but also former Mayor Karol Marinović. And of course, Marija Cvetnić, thank you again. She was the main initiator of this meeting.
She just showed me what it looked like outside. So I see the sun is not completely down. So it's beautiful to see your sunset. Thank you, Maria.
And at the end, allow me to emphasize the potential needs for additional cooperation. For example, the creation of an American Creation Corner in both libraries as a platform for spreading both cultures. Also, during this pandemic, we can share maybe book promotions, speaker exchange, especially those who spend some time in the US, like Fulbright participants, or IVLP alumni or American Fulbright participants in Croatia who can help in further connecting people from both sides. We also have a proposal. We would like to host 2 public librarians interested in spending in 2 weeks' time in our Karlovac Public Library as an intern and vice versa. And we would like to have at least 2 persons in our institution with an experience of working and living in hosting city. I think that Mayor mentioned something, but we'll see what will happen with this proposal. And finally, I'm announcing the next online meeting, as we mentioned, 29 in 16 on our time, in which we present our work, and another meeting is, and I'm taking this opportunity to want you all together for the next gathering. Of course, we will discuss about the topics of these meetings. Thank you again.
Well, thank you everyone for doing this and staying after hours to meet with us. We really do appreciate it. So we wish you all the best and we look forward to our next meeting.
Thank you.
And you will let us know if we need to do the Zoom link or how we're going to do it, and we can work that out.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. Thank you. Keep well.
Also, bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye, everyone.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye.